horrible story in New York. I don't know if this made it across the pond. There's this guy, Albert Fish.
Right.
Do you know his
Never
story?
heard of him.
So what he did was he kidnapped children.
Right.
And he murdered them. And I mean, there's no other way of putting it.
Yeah.
But before he murdered them, he would cut pieces off of them.
Would he?
Yes, while they were alive.
Yeah.
But he knew enough, you know, he was almost like with surgical ability to know how much blood the child could lose.
Yes.
And still stay conscious and rapeable. And he would take pieces off and put them in a stew. He would make a stew. He would rape what was left of the child.
Right.
To get his appetite going. Uh-huh. And then he would, as he wrote in many letters that he sent to the editor, and you know, there were a lot of typos which made it more disturbing somehow. Sure. I'm not sure why. But he talked about how the rump of the girl was so, I mean, this guy was a real jerk.
Yeah, it's beginning to sound that way. I remember when you interviewed Adam Sandler, there wasn't quite as much kiddie rape and murder in that one as there is in this one. I don't know. There was a lot more frothy showbiz stories about your time on SNL. Perhaps you could share one of those, perhaps where you first developed your William F. Buckley impression. Was that a big hit on the show, or?
The Bill Buckley?
Yeah.
Well, we could never get a guy that knew how to do Michael Kinsley. That was the problem. Yeah. That's going to be lost on you. Yeah. You're from the other
That's
side.
That's not just going to be lost on me.
Now, what do you think of did you grow up with David Frost? Was he kind of an idiot? People not like him?
He was, by the time I was aware of him, he was hosting a show called Through the Keyhole, in which people would go into celebrities' homes and they'd have to try and identify whose house it was from wandering around their home. Because the celebrity wasn't there, they were hidden, obviously. And they would say, look, there's a giant dildo or whatever, and you make a guess.
Jimmy Savile.
Jimmy Savile. And,
am I saying that right?
Jimmy Savile.
Savile.
Say his name right, please. Let's not take his name in vain. Yes, so but David Frost was, yes, whereas I think in the 60s he was considered quite a
journalist. Let's say Jimmy Savile goes into a room and a guy is like, you know, the person can't move, they're paralyzed.
Yeah. And
he doesn't act upon that person.
Right.
Who's to say it's bad?
Yeah.
That fella.
Me? I'll say it's bad.
But the lady is just lying there. You think her life's, you don't think she's just lying there. All of a sudden, a great entertainer.
A knight of the realm.
Fucks her.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, even, like you say, your unwanted, W-O-N-T, allegations against Michael Jackson, there had to be kids that were like, well, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is not some old priest.
I'm just wondering about...
I have a priest, by the way.
Can I just ask that because...
I'm not Catholic, but I know...
You have a priest anyway?
I know a priest.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for them because most of them don't fuck children. I just want to put that on the record, that more teachers fuck children than priests, and yet teachers are heroes and
Finally, someone brave enough to say it, which is great. But of course, what concerns me is that you have your amendment, Second Amendment, whichever it is, Third, Fifth Amendment.
I don't.
Whichever amendment, First Amendment, whichever one it is that allows.
But
the show here is being made in America.
Okay, so you have it too.
Right. I don't know. This is the question. If we go back to our respective countries, can we now be sued for libel? Or is the fact that this show is originating from America, does that absolve us? Do you see? Because so when we land,
there's different libel, slander laws.
There's different libel laws.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm just wondering if who's going to sue me when I land at Heathrow in about 3 weeks' time. The estate of Savile, the Queen, the Muslim community,
but let me ask you about
the Jackson family.
But let me ask you for a moment about the Arab Spring.
Finally, this is the question I came to talk about. Yeah. Yes, please do.
Why is it that you can't, England's not doing well financially.
Right.
Can't you get you call them your mates? Mm-hmm. They're friends.
Yeah.
Everybody else in the world, they call them mates.
Sure.
Get a couple of dozen of your mates and go down to that Buckingham Palace and kill the old bag.
To what end?
Money.
Right. Are you an old sea captain? What is this shtick that are you drunk on rum? We were talking outside about why you never guest hosted for some of the. Now I'm beginning to realise. But it's what's weird is you're not even drunk, and yet it's the illusion of it is extraordinary. Have you had a stroke or have you had a breakdown? It's a breakdown. You just had a little light breakdown on the way in the car. Because I'm pretty sure I've watched some of these other editions of the show, and I'm pleased to see that I've broken from the rule of only having white blokes on the show, which seems to be you only have white men and Roseanne
because it's supposed to be a comedy.
Right.
But
it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be. It's allegedly. What you had a question?
I had a few. Well.
We were told no questions.
Oh, you were? Yeah, good. Well, you certainly lived up to that side of the bargain.
When did you first realize that you had some sort of, I guess I'd call it a gold mine with Carl Pilkington? When did you first realize, oh my God, there's something here? Instantaneous? Was it just?
Well, no, he was given to us as a producer. You should get one, by the way. He was just there to press the buttons on our radio show, really, initially, and then we would periodically ask him questions, and then he would the answers he came out with were just gold dust. I mean, and I forget what they were early on. It would just tiny little things like he would say things like, "What were those things in that movie Gremlins called?" A long pause, and we'd say Gremlins, Carl, and then he told a long story about how he used to blah 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 blah, and then I went to the next door neighbours, and they kept a horse in the living room anyway, and that wasn't the point of the story. That was just a passing detail, and we thought, no, go back to the horse in the house, Carl, because I think there might be something there, and so then we started to unearth, how he saw the world, and then it was a never-ending gold mine.
Was that the first? Was it you? I know between you and Adam Carolla, that was one of the first. Your podcast was one of the first I'd ever heard of, and I listened to it.
I remember that
every. Because
I remember
episode.
They said we have too much bandwidth. We have to start charging people. I remember that happening.
Was that a thing?
Bandwidth.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Ask him another question about Carl Pilkington.
Carl,
he had one question. He asked it. It went well. You've thrown this at him now.
Do you have a particular favorite line or scene from The Office that?
Who came up with the?
This is like you two have won a competition.
I know it is. On Extras.
Host your own YouTube talk show.
On Extras, who came up with that?
A guy we found under a bridge, and the guy was jerking him off.
That's him. I wasn't.
Sorry. Okay.
I was never under a bridge. Who did that thing where?
Yeah.
No, who did that thing where Ricky drinks an extra and then it all comes.
The water bottle?
Right.
Yeah, where'd that come from? Did you actually do that in real life or something, or did you just?
No, we were just trying to come up with an absurd sort of embarrass yourself in front of a woman routine.
Yeah.
And that was what came.
Now, when you were doing The Office, do you have any idea that Ricky Gervais would end up being such a fantastic actor that could pull off these moments?
Oh yeah, when the first time that he played that character on camera, because we did it as part of a training exercise at the BBC when I was working at the BBC. Because I left the radio station I mentioned that I met him at and joined the BBC, realising I would get fired if I continued to work with him. And so I joined the BBC, and then while there, made a training film, and that was where we did our little sort of, if you like, demo of The Office.
Oh really?
And I remember kind of finishing editing it and running to the phone box at the time. I didn't even have a mobile phone, and phoning him going, "This is dynamite," and he was just electrified. And then we were like, "Oh, this is something."
So you knew right from the start.
Yeah.
You knew at least it was funny.
I knew it was funny, and I knew he was just great as that character.
Yeah.
But he was
it's funny because they would always say like a boss from hell. Sometimes they just say things.
Right.
Seinfeld's about nothing, and this is a boss from hell, and that's not how I saw it when I watched it. I would always go, "Oh, he's cool. I'd like to hang out with him."
Wow. Okay.
Everybody else is, why aren't they laughing at him?
Yeah.
Why they're all the guys stuck dead in life. Not him.
Well, Ricky would often have people come up to him in the street and kind of eagerly run up and go, "I'm just like that guy you play. See ya," and he'd run off gleefully like that was a compliment, which was always odd. One guy, I remember, we used to have such strange. One guy, a homeless guy, once came up with a plastic bag, and he said, "Look at these! It's DVDs of your show. I just stole them from the record store." Hey, and he ran off. He said, "I just swung it over the metal detector. See ya!" And he ran off. People just felt they could just come up and share. Great days, great days.
Do you?
Here we go.
I remember hearing you telling stories about being like trying to get into a nightclub. There was like a time you tried to get into a nightclub, and then another time on holiday, just being embarrassed. And it seemed reminiscent of that. A lot of scenes from Hello Ladies. Did you ever have an incident similar to that scene in Hello Ladies at the nightclub where you fell through the table? Anything that?
Not falling through the table, although of course, the Sarah Silverman party, I did something worse.
Would you? I don't.
Did you know that?
I was there. Glass window.
Shut up.
Yeah. Thanks for ruining the punchline.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you really?
That was going to be quite the anecdote, but never mind.
Subscribe to Burger King.